What's poppin', y'all? We back with the Squid Games Aftermath podcast. I'm your host, DeAndre Player 288, and I have with me the illustrious, victorious, well, almost victorious,
Almost victorious.
number 34, Hannah Douglas. What's going on, Hannah?
Good. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I appreciate you coming to us all the way
Of
from New
course.
Jersey.
From New Jersey.
I like the flower plant you got in the back, or the
Oh, thank
flower
you.
picture.
Thank you. It's humble grad student housing, but it's the best we can do for now. So yeah.
They providing. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Could
cool,
have done
Hannah.
with
Well,
prize money, but
well, you gonna win something soon. I feel it in my soul and spirit.
it's crossed.
But we gonna jump right into it.
Sure.
Hannah, why did you decide to apply for Squid Games the challenge?
Oh God. Let's see. I applied for Squid Game the challenge. I actually saw the advertisement, like the YouTube video. I don't know if you remember those, but there was that YouTube video going around calling for casting. And I've personally like never done anything in like the entertainment industry before. But I was working in like research essentially at the NIH for a little bit. And I saw the casting, I was bored at work, and I filmed like the 30-second thing, sent it in, and then I do this thing where I apply to like whatever opportunities that I think I will like never get. So I've applied to like FBI, like special agents positions, to like random like law schools and just like the randomest things. And then if the universe thinks that it's right for me, then I figured like those opportunities would come my way. So it was kind of along those lines of just like, this looks like something that like I would absolutely never get. And then I got it. So that's kind of like my line of thinking, I guess.
No, that's lit. I mean, I get you got to put yourself out there if you want to kind of reap the rewards of something, and you can't just say, "Oh, well, that'd be cool to apply and not do it." With you actually doing it. So props to
Oh
you
yeah,
on that.
I'm
Oh,
putting myself out there for sure. All types
got
of
to,
opportunities.
got to. So you find out you get cast on the show, and
Yeah.
so you packing up your things. It's the night
Mhm.
before you leave. What's going on through your head?
Well, first I'll say like I didn't know that I was cast until very, very late. So I didn't find out that I was going for sure to London until a week before I flew out. So I think I was like one of the last people that was cast. But um so the whole process for me was kind of a whirlwind. I know some people had time to actually like prepare for the games. Like I heard other players were like making their own like Dalgana cookies and then like scraping them out and practicing. I didn't have time to like do shit. Essentially, it was like pack your bags, get ready to go, get on the plane, like be there on Wednesday. So I didn't have much time to process. It was more like getting adjusted once I was actually in London and like actually coming to terms with the fact that like this was the thing that was happening.
Yeah, it seems like it was feeling a little surreal and like, wow,
Oh
all
yeah,
that
for a
preparation and
very long
whatnot.
time.
Yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
Well, you get your bags, put it on your back like door, and head on out the door to your adventure
Sure.
without Boots by your side. At least that's,
Mhm.
we weren't allowed to bring pets.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately.
you get there, and it's the night before we head out for the first game really early. What are you thinking this last night in the hotel?
Um, well, there's like this lack of information, right? I don't know about you, but like I didn't even get like bottles of water to my hotel room for a very long time. So the whole thing was just like I never knew what was happening. I feel like some of the welfare team didn't know what was happening at certain points of time. So like they told me that like they would come get my suitcase to like take away all of my belongings and like put them away for the actual games but the night before. So I was waiting for them to come and like get my stuff, but I don't think they actually came and got it until like 3 a.m. the next day. But I was waiting for them to come and get my stuff. So I like essentially stayed up all night waiting for like that knock on my door. And so the night before Red Light, Green Light, which was like the first episode, I actually got very little sleep. And then the day that we filmed, as you know, was a very long day. I think it was like 22 hours or something from like the time we woke up to the time that we went to bed. So, not an ideal situation. Definitely running on like adrenaline the entire day.
Yeah, no, definitely hard to kind of get to bed after they tell you the news and whatnot, because
I don't
we didn't
know.
know anything at that point.
Exactly. I wish they just like gave us more information, but
100%, because
what
they're just
can
like,
you
we'll let
do?
you guys know. We'll let you guys know. I was like, all right, y'all. Like, okay, I like the hotel. It's okay, but can we move on?
Yeah. And we had no way of like getting in contact with like the people as well because everything was through email. We weren't allowed to leave our rooms. I had a lot of questions and like no answers essentially.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's the worst. Just not knowing at all. I mean,
Hmm.
especially in that kind of situation where we thought we was gonna be maybe in the hotel for a day or two, and it was, some people spent 5 days in that hotel.
Yeah.
So
How long were
it
you there?
was,
I'm curious.
I want to say 3 days. I want
Three
to say
days?
3 days. Yeah.
Okay. Some people
So
had it like a lot worse, I feel like.
yeah, I
They were just
mean,
like dying to get out at that point. Yeah. I got pretty lucky.
yeah, isolating is like I thought it was gonna be fine, but it was honestly torture. Like not talking to anyone and not being able to like see anyone except for lunch, and then they still
I
didn't want
was
you to talk.
Yeah, no, I was peering at people through my window because you could see the other Squid players because I had like a corner room. We weren't allowed to talk to each other, but I was like, this sounds creepy, but I was like spying on the person in the next room because I could like see through their window. I could see
Hmm.
that they had like their number bracelet. And then that was keeping me sane for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw a few people through mine too, like practicing, like
Mhm.
really like stopping.
Really?
It was funny.
Okay.
People
I
just
didn't
like
get
stood in one spot for like
Yeah.
forever. So,
No, I
well,
didn't get to
cool.
practice. Mhm.
No, me neither. Well, cool. So we get out of there. It's time to head to the first game. And from the tent, you can tell it's red light, green light from seeing the top
Yeah.
of the arena. But when you first walk in there, what's going on in your head?
But it's cool as fuck. Um, I grew up in Thailand,
Wow.
which I don't know if you know most people probably know this, but like it doesn't snow there. It historically never has. So my body is not adjusted to the cold in any way. Usually I'm just like bundled up. So walking into that room, I already knew that I was screwed. But we at that time like didn't know. I love that like in the actual production when everyone first walks in, you can see us like all smiling and like excited, and then like by the end of the episode people are just like in a completely different state of mind of just like what have we gotten ourselves into. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was definitely there was that shift for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's crazy in that space. So we're getting ready to start. They give us a little
Mhm.
practice round first. You get to do
Yeah.
that, and then it's time to go. What's your strategy going into this?
My strategy, honestly, like I said, I didn't have time to practice. I didn't have time to
What'd you do in the practice round though? Like that was your quote unquote
I
practice.
mean, it was a lot of like mimicking the people around me, right? So I know that people strategize before coming there, and it was a lot of like taking their strategy and using it for myself. So although I had no practice, one thing I think I am really good at, having like grown up in like three different countries, is I'm really good at adapting to scenarios. So watching people around me see what they're doing. Um, Again, you never know what the environment's like. So one of the things is like it was really freaking cold, and so you had to keep your hands in your pocket from like keeping yourself from getting like frostbite in your fingers. So like that was something you figured out right away, and you had to just like use that to your advantage as quick as possible.
Yeah, no, 100%. You preaching right now because
Yeah,
that was the strategy. Stay warm at least. If you
that was
stay
the
warm,
only strategy.
yeah, stay warm by any means
You were
necessary.
Yeah.
So we get the game started, and the first round commences. Boom, the music starts and then stops, and so we're sitting there.
Hmm.
5 minutes, 10
Yeah.
minutes, 15 minutes. What are you thinking during this first thing going on? I'm like, dang, thought it was supposed to be 5 minutes.
I feel like everyone was just like in a state of disbelief, right? Of just like you're standing still and there's nothing you can do. But in your head, you're just like, what is happening right now? Like, this is not what I was informed about. Everyone was thinking it's just going to be a 5-minute game. And then you realize that, like, oh, it doesn't just feel like it's a long time. Like, this is an actual, like, some of the rounds were like 40 minutes of standing still. And I just don't think that anyone was expecting that. So my strategy was, a lot of it initially was timing out how much I had to run, splitting the room up into like sections, and then timing how long the actual chunks of running were to see if I was going to make it to the end. I'm not a fast runner at all, so it was a lot of like, how fast do I have to run to make it? How safe can I like play it? How much time do I have? So that was like my initial thoughts. But then like towards the end, it got into like a very different headspace, I feel like.
Okay. So she was moving along. She got one. She started off slow, but she keeps on trucking down the place, and the finish line is in sight. So when you see that line in your sight, and it's vulnerable to you, what's going through your head?
Honestly, like not much. At that point, we were all just kind of like dissociating, right? Like everyone had their own thing. Some people were saying that they were just like praying. Some people were like drawing things on the wall that they saw in their mind. For me, it was reciting this poem. That's like the only poem that I know. It's about 5 minutes, and I was just like reciting it in my head over and over and over again just to get into this very like meditative state. So that was my strategy. But I think one of the reasons why I was also in that state was because I was like straight up dissociating. The player behind me was one of the people that like fainted, and she hit her head and had a seizure. And that was like not even halfway through the game. And I had to like watch that happen out of like the corner of my eye. And then there was nothing that I could essentially do about it unless I wanted to risk being eliminated. So after that point, my brain, I think, shut off a little bit. And it was just very, very surreal. So yeah. Yep.
Wow, that's insane. Yeah, you were so close to something like that, and it's, whoo, that's a whirlwind of like, even you probably hear that, think about that sometimes, just unfortunately not be able to help somebody that's in dire need. So
Oh, for sure. And then I later on had like questions about like, am I a shitty person for not helping them in that situation? Like, I know that it's a competition, but like, if someone is in need of some serious medical help, like, I feel like I'm also obligated to take that risk. I don't know if their life is in danger. So luckily, like the person that was next to me helped her out, but I do think that she got eliminated as a result.
see, I don't like that part of the game, Coach. No. That is not what we signed up for, y'all. But same. I don't even know what to think about that. I mean, that's, yeah. I don't think you're wrong in either way. It's just, I don't know. That's a question for another alternate reality that I ain't got the answers to.
Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. That's a good way. It was a
lot. Yeah. It's like,
but no, go ahead. Continue.
Sorry. I think whenever people ask me about like red light, green light, it's so hard to describe in words. And I don't think I could ever do it justice for what the experience actually was. Like I've tried many times to explain it to people, but only the people who were there and actually had to experience what red light, green light was will ever understand. And I think that's the reason why after everyone passed the game, that was such a strong thing that we all bonded on. And we felt comfortable going up to like whoever in the dorms initially, because like that was something that we all had in common. That was such a like a core value, essentially.
Yeah, it was definitely a talking point for a long time afterwards.
Yeah.
I mean, But it was interesting to talk about, to hear everyone's perspective. That was my big thing. It's like, how
Yeah.
did you like mentally deal with it?
Oh yeah.
So
Which they all
everyone,
like conveniently cut in the final production. So
they didn't want them to, they didn't want to be looking like it
that makes
was,
sense.
we was going through, Harry Potter trials and tribulations up in here.
Oh
Or we
yeah.
was, we
It
was
makes
fighting
sense.
against the,
I understand, but
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, but I digress. So, congratulations, player 34 makes it on through. She's cruising on to the next step to get her bag.
Mhm.
And we eventually head to the dorms. So,
Yeah.
when you first walk into the dorms, what are you thinking?
I was really impressed by like the set similarities between the actual Squid Game and like later we find out that the person who actually wrote the Squid Games was there and kind of like validating a lot of the set designs, which I thought was super cool. But I don't think we knew that at the time. And then your mind goes to, okay, where do I bunk? I don't know any of these people yet. Essentially, a lot of the people that I was close to initially got eliminated in red light, green light. So I went in not knowing a lot of people for sure.
So, what's your plan going on in here? You trying to meet everybody you can? You trying to find a small group? Who are the people that you came to become a group or close friends with?
Yeah. So the one person that I was really close to throughout the entire game was Perna, who is player number 31. And I met him before we even started red light, green light. Um, sorry. Yeah,
You got
so
it.
I met Perna before we even started red light, green light. Um, he was someone that I trusted from the very beginning, and he is someone that I trusted till the very end. And there are definitely lots of other players that I met and got to know. And then there were also a ton of players that I met afterwards, after the game ended. And, I didn't get a chance to talk to them in the dorms, but we later became like very close.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, Perna's a great dude from
Perna's awesome.
Kansas City, as myself. I have yet to be able
Yeah.
to even meet Perna. So,
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna try and reach out when I go home for
I
Christmas
didn't know.
and meet
Yeah,
him.
I didn't know you're from Kansas. That's really cool.
Well, Kansas City, Missouri. I'm from Perna's in the Kansas side. I'm from the Missouri side, but they're pretty much right next to each other. It's like
Yeah.
Jersey City and New York City.
Makes
Cool.
sense.
She's out there making some new friends and
Yeah.
camaraderies and whatnot and bonding with people.
Mhm.
But then we learn that player 200 is eliminated by player.
Mm.
Well, we don't know who it is at this point. From our perspective, we don't know who it is.
Sure.
How are you feeling after this player gets eliminated?
It was a little nerve-wracking, of course, because like that was the first time that we realized that players can get eliminated. But I personally never talked to player 200. I don't think. I'm actually not sure. But it starts going through your head of like, okay, who would I eliminate? And I think when I went into one of the MIVs, they asked me that, and I gave an answer. And I'm coming to realize from like the amount of hate that some people are getting online for eliminating certain players like in the actual production, if I was to have like eliminated the player that I said in the MIVs, or if like that MIV went out into the actual final cut, that would not have probably reflected well on me. So there's this part of me that's like thankful that, I definitely was not like a main character throughout the show, but there's a part of me that's glad that I wasn't, I think. So those are lessons that I've definitely learned since then.
Yeah, the lessons are very important. You got to take away something if you can't take away the money,
Absolutely.
Can't
Yeah.
take away life experiences, which, is invaluable in my opinion.
Mhm.
But we continue, and we are moving on to the second game, and we enter the white room. So when you enter the white room and see these 4 lines, what are you thinking?
I was thinking at that point I wanted to stay with my friends. There was rumors that it was going to be tug of war because of the lines. So at that point I was like, okay, I want to stay in the same line as my friends, which I did. Like Perna was in that line. Nayo and Kiara, who are some of my good friends, I think were also in that line. I take it back. They're actually not in that line. But essentially, I try to stick with some of my friends. But I really had no idea what to expect at that point. I definitely made a conscious decision to stay in the back of the line because the game, as everyone knows, is about blending in. And I'm not someone that's typically like, I don't usually stand out in a crowd. But I definitely was making a conscious effort to like stay under the radar, and then hopefully like use that as my strategy to make it far.
So what line do you pick?
I picked line one, which was eventually the circle line, and I was very very happy to be there.
Yes, that's right. Line one is eventually the circle line. So
Yeah.
first group goes out, second group goes out,
Yep.
third group picks the order, which is the same order as what we have in the line you're standing in. So
Mhm.
when you get inside, the Dalgana playground, and you get your triangle, how you feeling about things?
Honestly, I was feeling really confident about this one. In my day-to-day job, I do a lot of surgeries on small animals, as part of my job, and
Wow.
I have a lot of confidence in doing very detail-oriented tasks with like fine detail. So this was like the one challenge that I was very confident in passing, although I've like never done it before. I was like, if I take it slow and I don't panic, then I should be able to like pass this with no problems at all. That being said, my biggest fear in life is spit. Uh, which was so unfortunate for this particular task because I had to watch some of my friends store saliva in their mouth for like an hour, right? And that, like, I was, Spencer was, as you know, nauseous throughout the entire thing, but I was probably just as nauseous from watching people store saliva and then like spit it out. That definitely is one of my like worst fears. So just like mentally, I had a really hard time like getting through that. Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, I don't have a fear of spit, so I cannot relate.
Yeah.
But I understand, everyone has their phobias and whatnot. I mean,
It's just gross. I don't know why they gotta be doing all that. Yeah.
so did you end up just not spitting on the cookie?
I mean, let me think. I spit into like the cracks of the cookie and then like kind of like dragged it out into a circle. Um, it took me a lot longer than I thought to pass, just from the essentially what happened was because I was doing it in the tin, the sugar melted from the saliva and then it hit the bottom of the tin, which was cold, and it refroze. So it took a long time for me to like I essentially had to do the challenge twice. Um, I later found out though, because the clock was pretty low by the time I passed, that Perna, who was like sitting right next to me, was waiting for me to finish my cookie, just to make sure that I made it, which, it still like warms my heart to think about to this day.
Yeah, that's it. That is. But 34 is making her move. She's getting the cookie done, and boom, she gets it done. She's
Thank
moving
God.
on to the next round.
Mhm.
So I will say before I go through, actually, do you know Catherine
Yeah.
Oliver?
Mhm.
She actually didn't spit on the cookie. She just did
Really?
everything without spitting on it and everything. And
Huh. I
I
would
was
have
like,
totally done that if I knew. Yeah, if I'd known
yeah,
I
she
could
said,
pass that way.
yeah, she did the circle too, and she said it came right on
Mhm.
out in 2 minutes. So
That's awesome.
yeah. But congratulations. Player 34 is moving on. She is moving step by step, closer and closer to
Closer,
the
closer.
money.
Yeah,
Piggy bank is filling up for her.
it is.
But then we get back to the dorms and we get this telephone booth. Are you thinking about this telephone booth? Are you wanting to answer it?
To be completely honest, at that point, I was just like, I was so hungry that I was very low on energy. And I think and one thing that people miss that kind of pisses me off is the games look like they're back to back. but we had like 3 days sometimes in between certain games. And so, like, by the time that we got to the telephone booth, I was already just very fatigued from the lack of food. So a lot of the time was sleeping. And when that telephone came out, I was sleeping. Um, when the food came out, I was I woke up because of the amount of like food, the amount of noise that there was, and I sat up, and I was very sleepy, right, because of the lack of sleep as well. And I looked at the amount of food that was on the tray, and I was like, "That's not enough for the all of us." And then I went straight back to sleep. So I missed a lot of that particular scene. Yeah,
Okay, well, she was chilling, and
it
minding her own
was.
business, and
It's a strategy. I was conserving my energy for sure.
exactly. You
Yeah.
end up walking around doing all this extra stuff, and you're losing
Yeah.
calories, and that's just not helping the whole entire hunger epidemic we got going
The
on right now.
people like playing soccer, I was like, what are you doing? You're out of your minds. You're wasting calories. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a cognizant thought. Some people were doing, a lot of little workouts, whatever they could do, which I understand. Like, you want to stay in shape, but the amount of malnutrition we were receiving was just not gonna last with you doing all that. So
And I wish they would have highlighted that more.
yeah.
Um, yeah. I was literally just like, I wish I could like cry into my food because then at least there would be like salt on these potatoes. But no, it was rough. It was really rough.
She was going through it.
I
She was in the
was. Food
she was
is
in the
so
Hunger
hard.
Games.
Truly. It was very hard. And they didn't
Seems like the
highlight that
food
enough.
Yeah, it seems like the food was hitting you the most. I think, a
Yeah,
lot of people feeling it, but it sounds like you were
really?
you were feeling it the most.
Yeah. It was, I mean, because it's like the only thing that you have in a day if there's no games, right? The only thing to look forward to is the food that comes out. So it's natural
Yeah,
for me.
100%. 100%.
Mhm.
Well, good thing we had unlimited water. So hopefully you got
Yeah,
enough of that.
we did.
In my mind, I was thinking they were gonna have, I don't know why I was thinking this, but they were gonna have
Mhm.
like a buffet tray for us to just, when the time to eat, they had the buffet tray out and we were just gonna put everything on our plates and then we're good. I
Like
don't know.
what, when the
Like
burgers
any
came
other
out?
show, like any other show for them to eat, they bring out a buffet, they bring a buffet tray out, kind of like when we had at the hotel, and
Gotcha.
just
Mhm.
do that. I literally thought it was gonna be the exact same thing, and
Yeah. Yeah, that makes
it
sense.
was, yeah.
That would have
So
been nice.
it was not part of the
Okay, but it
plan.
would have been more, I feel like it would have been more competitive if they did that. Like, if Lorenzo had a buffet, he would have just taken the entire portion for the dorm and like taken it back to his bed, I feel like.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I mean, look, maybe them give you a plate and you can fill your plate up, and then you just have this plate, and then you can come back and get seconds and thirds if you want.
Gotcha.
So,
That makes sense.
but they was not on that kind of time,
Mm-hmm.
or I guess budget too. But I mean, they were on that kind of budget, but they didn't want to use that
Not a big
for
budget.
us.
Yeah.
Get rid of one of the guards and give us some food. So
I know. I should have like bribed them somehow. That would have been fun.
I was trying. I was talking to
You're
them as much as I
trying.
could. I was like,
Gotcha.
"Hey, give me something." They just
Mm-hmm.
kept looking at me. So didn't work
Actually,
out.
so one day, we had, our usual oatmeal, and I opened my oatmeal tin, and there was a potato in there. There was just like, I thought it was a pear, and I was like, nice, I got a pear in my oatmeal today, but it was a potato. And people were like, oh my God, you have to like dig through your potato because in the show, there's like a message in one of the food items. Um, it was just a potato, but I had my hopes up for a second.
Oh, dang. They almost got you one. They was trying with you, but they were like,
Almost.
"Nah, we want to see her suffer a little bit more."
Yep. It was
Well,
just, mhm.
yeah, no, it was just crazy. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're good.
It's time for the third game, they announce. And so we're walking to the white room. Everyone's thinking tug of war this, tug of war that. Are you thinking tug of war?
Um, I had my doubts, but like I wanted to prepare as though it was tug of war, right? Um, but definitely was also making a conscious decision in that game to not be in the same line with my friends. So, like Perna was in a different line. Megan, who I was also very close to, was in a different line. And I thought that that was the best shot that we had of being together at the end of the game. So that was wrong, I think, essentially. But you know, as a strategy, I was like, there's no way that it was going to be just a straightforward tug of war kind of game. I was definitely not expecting warships, though. That was definitely a twist. They're really good.
Yeah, no, they were slick with that. That was a slick one they pulled. But yes, you get in the line, and you walk in there and find out it's warships. When you see this, what are you thinking right now?
Our line we were in line 8, right? So we were all
Mhm.
girls, essentially, except for like a couple of guys. And I was already bawling at that point. This was like day 6 of being in the dorms, mentally unstable, very hungry, and I realized what the games were going to be. And I know that there was probably a very low chance that I was going to come out of the other side with my friends. So I was already bawling at that point. I'd said my goodbyes essentially before we even went into the game room. But when we found out that it was going to be warships, we were like so hyped because we were the group of girls and we were like, there's no way if it's tug of war, we're going to win. Like, there's just no chance. So we were very excited. And then immediately we chose Madison as our captain. Yeah, that was the start of it for sure.
That was the start of it. And yes, you were in line 8 along with, Kat, who I recently spoke to.
Mhm.
And your team decides that you denominate them as captain, Madison, and you get in the 5-person boat. Why do you get in the 5-person boat?
I get in the 5-person vote because I think it was a 3-person vote with some of my good friends.
Are you sure? 100%?
No, sorry. There was a 3-person vote with my friends. There was no more space for me. And so I was looking around and I was like, well, if I get in the 5-person vote, it'll take the longest to sink, right? It was either that or it was the 2-person vote. And it was like 50-50. But I will say before that is like one thing I did consider is like suggesting that I become the captain. I will just say that I'm very glad that I didn't. But as like so in my day-to-day job, I'm like a neuroscience PhD right now. And I'm like, okay, I don't have too many skills that I can like contribute like team wise, but the one thing that I do have somewhat of confidence in is like something like strategy or something that uses like intellect essentially. So I was like, okay, warships, I've played this a bunch of times. I could probably beat this game, but I didn't want to be responsible for people going home. And in that moment, I was like, there was just no chance that I can live with the fact that I sent people home for the rest of my life. Like that's gonna haunt me. So I made a very conscious decision to kind of like step back from that one. And I'm very glad that I did. But I know that it was still a very, very close match for us.
Yes, close match indeed. And unfortunately, your boat gets hit first. And so, how are you feeling once your boat hits the first one to get hit?
It was rough. It was so rough. You know, you start like simulating situations in your head of just like, okay, can I get out of this alive or am I gone for sure? And I think it's about like the second or third hit that I realized that we're a goner. Like there's no way that we can get out of this alive. So I was bawling for sure, like ugly, ugly crying. I'm glad that they didn't air more of that. But I was really trying to like keep it together because I know that our Captain Madison was getting quite emotional, as like anyone would. I absolutely would be as well in her position. But I knew that I had to like keep my shit together because I was right in front of her. And if I was like breaking down, then that wasn't going to reflect well on her performance. And I knew they could have still won the game. So I was like devastated on the inside, but I was really trying hard to like keep myself together.
Hey, hold it together now, girl. Come on now. We need
Trying.
you. But yes, unfortunately, you were the first boat hit, and then it gets another hit, another hit, another hit, and your whole boat is sunk.
Yeah.
And then your whole team gets sunk, except for the 2 boats that didn't.
Mhm.
So this is sadly the end of 34's journey on Squid
That's the
Game.
end.
So when you get eliminated and get back to the hotel, what's going through your head?
I was just happy to get out with my friends. Like when I said that I was like bawling from my boat getting hit, I was bawling at that point. It wasn't even, oh, I lost my shot at getting $4.5 million. It was, oh, I don't get to be in the dorm with my friends anymore. And I'd already formed such like special and close connections with the people in the dorm that it hurt knowing that I couldn't say goodbye to them. And that was what was like the most heartbreaking thing for me. So although some of my really good friends went on, you know, a lot further to then like get pretty close to the $4.5 million, I also had really, really great friends that lost with me in Warships. And I know that's kind of selfish to say, but I was just so relieved to get to spend more time with them, say my goodbyes, but then also relieved to just like have sugar in my system and get to like leave the dorms because on the last day, I think people can speak, like my close friends can like speak to this, but I was like, guys, I only have 1 day left in me. Like, I can't do this anymore. And so I don't think even if I passed that challenge, I would have made it much further because I was kind of at like my mental limit for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's good to have the people around you that you care about when you're going through something like that. That can make
Yeah.
things a lot better, the trauma bonding and whatnot with it
Hmm.
all.
Hmm.
And, say if you got out with a bunch of strangers, it's just going to be a lot harder for you to cope and deal with
Oh, yeah.
things rather
Hmm.
than deal with your friends. So I totally understand that.
Yeah. It was really nice.
Well, cool. Well, you get back home, get on the plane, head back home. When you get back to your house, how you feeling now?
Um, I think I was holding a lot in um, until I got back home. Actually, when I first got out, I called my mom and she told me that my uncle had died while I was in the
Um,
games.
sorry.
Which I wasn't super close with him, but it was still a shock. And you realize how much of a disconnect there was between your reality for the last week and you realize that the world kept on running essentially and like the world doesn't pause for you. So that was definitely a reality check. And then getting back to my house, I kind of let all of my emotions go the moment that I walked back into my apartment. And I cried for like a solid hour. um, just like seeing my dog again and like really recognizing how like blessed you are in your day-to-day life, of just like you get to eat food that is really good. I keep coming back to the food, but it's like, and you have such great friendships and people who support you, and you have a say in like when you want to take a shower without like being scared that the guards are going to come out and start some activity. So, yeah, it's just like being very thankful for the way that you live right now. And I think that's something that I definitely got out of the experience that I haven't experienced before.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm glad you pointed. The little things in life is what matters.
Yeah,
In America, especially, we're blessed to a high degree,
absolutely.
even if you have a roof over your head. So doing all that definitely puts things in perspective. Or wow, it could be a lot worse than this.
Yeah.
I could, I could be on the street. I could have no family and friends.
Hmm.
I could be
Hmm.
eating food that's not salted and seasoned. It could be a lot worse out here in dire situations, Coach. So let me count my blessings while I'm at it.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So, with everything that went down, how do you, would you look at your experience and, sum it up into words?
Sum it up in words. Um, Oh God.
Any lessons learned?
If not so much lessons, but like when I look back and people are like, what was it like? What was Squid Games the challenge like? Or like what was living in the dorms like? I kind of think of it as like summer camp from hell of just like you're making really good friendships in a short amount of time. But on the flip side, it's like you are freaked out the whole time. You have no idea who's going to betray you at any moment in time. You have no idea what's going to happen next. So, like, yes, like some of the best friendships that I've ever formed in my life, like real highs, real lows, but also like never want to experience that again. So I think that's what I took away from it.
She said, "Count me out for season 2, coach. I am
Oh yeah,
not gonna
not
be
going
in
back.
those dorms unless y'all are feeding me how I need to be fed.
That's
That
true.
needs to be in
That's
the
true.
contract stated. Everybody else can eat slop. I need to sit and get in the back room and have my meal."
That would be nice. I would love that. Or let me cook my own food. I could do a lot better
Like,
than that.
exactly. We had the kitchen and we couldn't even utilize it. I thought that was
Really?
crazy. I was like,
So,
man,
yeah, the chores people. I mean, they peeled carrots, but like that was it. So
yeah, I thought missed opportunity. Let us cook, man. I know this is
that's
Squid Games, but look, it's y'all put Battleship in here. It ain't all the way Squid Games, so
yeah. It would have been so fun for the whole dorm to like come together and do like a little like if we had access to the kitchen, we could have done like a little potluck or something. It's not the
oh, that would,
games, but it would have been fun.
yeah, no, that would have been amazing. That would have been
Like,
definitely, I think, a nice touch. Add a touch of reality into things. I know I see all some of these shows like they put you through torture and misery, but
they do.
I think if you add a flair of reality, maybe some alcohol or
Mm,
something, it really
alcohol?
spices things up and comes. I mean, look, if you had alcohol in there, think how lit it would have been.
That's true. That's true.
It you add a touch of reality to some of these shows or
Mm,
experiments that you put people tortures through torture. It really, I think, adds another human element to the show
mhm,
and,
mhm.
dramatizes things too. But I mean, look at like, the shows that are filled with that, like Jersey Shore and even Selling Sunset. I hate to admit that I watched that show.
That's it. Yeah.
It's just like silly, trivial things can just
Mm.
add a little touch to shows and make them better. Not that our show was bad or anything, but it definitely, I like just that kind of stuff.
It's getting crazy now though. Like the later episodes,
Yeah, it's
it's
getting
tough
real.
to watch, honestly.
It yeah, it's definitely tough. I mean, you're seeing some things where I'm like, wow, like tough, crazy situations to say the least. Well,
Yes.
Hannah, I really appreciate you coming on. This was
Yeah.
wonderful little talk we had. You are a shining bright star coming
Thank you.
soon when you finish up your schooling at
Thank you.
Princeton, the prestigious, illustrious. And yeah, you definitely on to great things.
Thank you
I'm
so
glad we get
much.
to talk to you. Hope we get to see you soon. If you come into the city, holla at me.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
And yeah, that's great. But yeah, that's it for us, y'all. I
Abs-
appreciate y'all. Till
Yeah,
next
thanks so
time,
much for having me. I had a
of
lot of fun.
course. We at you. Peace and blessings.
See ya.